A thief stepped out of the subterranean Antwerp Diamond Center vault on Hovenierstraat carrying millions in raw gems, without tripping a single alarm or forcing a single lock. In fact, he used a handcrafted key to lock the multi-ton vault door shut behind him on his way out. When police arrived, they faced a chilling contradiction. The original master key was still resting inside the director's private safe. It is speculated that an insider made this possible, aiding a silent Antwerp Diamond vault key duplication right under the guards' noses. How do you clone a complex double-bitted key without ever taking it from the building? Hi, welcome to another episode of The Score. Hi, I am Marcus Stone. When Belgian federal police arrived at Hovenierstraat 51 on Monday morning, they prepared for chaos. They expected smashed glass, severed alarm wires, or scorched steel. Instead, they found absolute perfection. Forensic investigators brought out microscopic lenses to inspect the primary vault door. What they discovered baffled them. The heavy double-bitted multi-lever lock showed zero signs of forced entry. No tension wrench scratches. No metal filings. No pick tumblers. The lock had been opened by a key that fitted the internal levers to fractions of a millimeter. And that raised the first terrifying question: why didn't the alarm sound? The subterranean vault was guarded by state-of-the-art defenses. Passive infrared heat detectors, magnetic door switches, seismic vibration sensors designed to detect the slightest tremor of a drill or grinder. But seismic sensors only trigger during violence. A handcrafted duplicate key glides through a lock in complete, dead silence. The technical mystery deepens once you step inside the vault room itself. Dozens of steel safety deposit boxes line the walls. But the thief didn't randomly pick them. He bypassed adjacent boxes stuffed with millions in certified cut diamonds. Instead, he unlocked only specific boxes filled with uncertified rough diamonds, stones with no laser registry numbers, making them completely untraceable on the open market. How did he know which exact boxes to target? It is speculated that an insider leaked confidential vault ledgers beforehand. Some suspect a corrupt custodian handed over security blueprints in secret. Upstairs, the official master key remained locked inside the director's safe. It had never left the building. Investigators realized double-bitted vault key impressioning had occurred right under their noses, perhaps using high-resolution visual decoding or covert wax impressions taken during brief administrative handoffs. A ghost key unlocked a subterranean fortress. Untraceable rough diamonds vanished into thin air. And the Antwerp Diamond Center vault security breach became one of the most maddening criminal puzzles in European history. Reconstructing the Antwerp vault breach of 1997 requires starting 6 months before a single lock was ever touched. The operation began with cold, methodical patience. The master burglar established a routine inside Hovenierstraat 51, mapping guard patrol rotations, keycard turnstiles, and subterranean camera blind spots. Next came the ultimate technical hurdle: double-bitted vault key replication. The master key sat secured inside an upper-floor office safe. It is speculated that the thief captured its bit dimensions during a brief administrative handoff, perhaps using a concealed wax impression block or a high-resolution optical lens hidden inside a pen. Back in a private workshop, he spent weeks working with microfiles, meticulously shaping a brass key blank until its dual-bitted profile matched the internal lock lever tolerances to fractions of a millimeter. Then the chosen weekend execution window arrived. The Hovenierstraat 1997 security breach was officially underway. The Diamond Quarter was pitch black and quiet. Some suspect a covert accomplice waited nearby on the street, monitoring police radio frequencies, while the lock artist slipped past secondary service entrance locks and descended into the dark basement levels. Standing before the multi-ton subterranean vault door, he faced a formidable dual security requirement. He needed both his physical replica key and a multi-digit mechanical combination sequence. How did he obtain those confidential numbers? Legend has it a miniature optical fiber camera was planted in a hallway light fixture weeks earlier, recording the vault custodian dialing the sequence. He turned the mechanical combination dial. Clicking, clicking, clicking. The internal tumbler pins aligned. Now came the ultimate moment of truth. He slid his handcrafted duplicate key into the multi-lever lock cylinder. If his hand filing was off by even a fraction of a millimeter, the internal levers would bind, freezing the mechanism and ruining the entire operation. He turned the key. The heavy steel deadbolts retracted smoothly. Because there was no drilling, grinding, or forced pressure, the seismic vibration sensors remained silent. The massive vault door swung open. Inside the chamber, he didn't rush. He systematically bypassed adjacent boxes stuffed with certified cut stones. He unlocked only specific safety deposit boxes carrying uncertified rough diamonds, gems with no laser registry numbers, making them completely untraceable. With bags filled, he executed the masterstroke of relocked vault door heist mechanics. He closed the heavy vault door, inserted his duplicate key, and turned it back to the locked position. He spun the combination dial, resetting the deadbolts. When he walked out into the Antwerp night, the facility appeared completely untouched. The vault sat locked, silent, and totally empty until Monday morning. Inside Vault Level -1 of the Antwerp Diamond Center, the air is dead silent. Cold steel, smashed light fixtures, empty safety deposit boxes scattered across the floor like hollow shells. When investigators first stepped into the room, they expected chaos. Instead, they found an unsettling order. No latent fingerprints on the heavy combination dial. No usable contact DNA on the handles or the floor. Whoever walked these corridors wore high tactile gloves and wiped down every single touch point before slipping away. Unraveling the breach required a deep dive into the Antwerp Vault breach forensic evidence from 1997. Detectives from the Belgian Federal Police, the Federal Polity, brought in forensic metallurgists to examine the main vault door. They focused their lenses directly on the lock cylinder. What they found under extreme magnification changed everything: a microscopic metallurgical transfer. Soft brass alloy residue was scraped along the internal lever edges of the mechanism. Scientists analyzed the chemical composition of that brass. It was a clear mismatch. The alloy profile did not match the official, factory-manufactured master key. This single detail answered the central mystery. How did the intruders enter without forcing the door? A custom, non-factory double-bitted duplicate key had been slotted into the lock and turned. Inside the vault, individual safe deposit boxes bore similar microscuffs on their internal tumblers. The intruder hadn't blown the locks off. They used specialized picks and handcrafted keys, sliding methodically from box to box in total darkness. How could anyone pull this off inside one of the most secure buildings on Earth? A forensic audit of the security system revealed massive red flags. In 1997, the Diamond Center relied on multiplexed analog CCTV systems running long-play videotapes. The footage was grainy, low-resolution, and degraded. Even worse, the passive infrared heat sensors, the peer detectors meant to spot human movement, had been recalibrated. To prevent false alarms from climate control systems during unstaffed weekend hours, technicians had widened the sensitivity thresholds. The vault's digital eyes were blurred. Its skin was numb. Legend has it, the break-in was crafted far beyond the vault walls. It is speculated that an undercover informant supplied the exact dimensions of the master lock mechanism, while an imagined accomplice, a master Dutch locksmith, forged the ghost key in an illicit workshop. The getaway trail led straight across the border. The Federal Polity launched a joint Belgian-Dutch cross-border police investigation, hunting for leads through Breda, Rotterdam, and Amsterdam. Intercepted wiretaps picked up underworld chatter regarding illegal diamond sales. But in 1997, highways lacked automated license plate recognition cameras. The getaway vehicle dissolved into the night. And then came the cold reality of the stolen haul. Why couldn't police track the gems? These were pre-Kimberley process rough diamonds. They lacked laser-inscribed registry numbers or digital certificates. Once those uncertified rough stones hit the illicit cutting wheels of Breda or Rotterdam, their original physical form was erased forever. Recut. Resold. Untraceable. A forged key. A blind security system. A vanished trail. The Phantom of Hovenierstraat had executed a master-class breach, leaving behind only microscopic brass dust and an unanswered question. A massive steel vault unlocked without a single scratch. No alarms tripped. No forced entry. How was the impossible executed? Exploring the Antwerp Diamond Center heist theories from 1997 reveals a chilling conflict between three competing explanations. The official investigation by the Belgian Federal Police, the Federal Polity, built its case around a phantom locksmith hypothesis. Detectives posited that a patient intruder rented a safe deposit box inside vault level -1 under a false identity. Over several months, during routine visits, the thief secretly pressed soft clay and impression material into the keyway of the double-bitted lever lock, mapping the internal mechanism blade by blade. Forensic locksmith consultants agreed that progressive key cutting was mechanically possible. Yet critics remained skeptical. Impressioning a primary vault door lock demands dozens of precise trial turns. Could anyone really operate with that level of brazen precision right under the noses of armed guards? That skepticism fueled a darker alternative, a high-stakes Antwerp diamond quarter insider betrayal. Some suspect the key was never mapped through guesswork at all. Legend has it, a corrupted security guard or facility insider took a swift silicone mold of the official master key during a brief 30-second window. In an imagined shadow along Hovenierstraat 51, that mold was exchanged for an envelope of cash. It is speculated that an undercover informant also tampered with the security control panel, explaining how the passive infrared heat sensors were recalibrated and the analog CCTV system blinded. Then came the financial mystery. The stolen haul consisted almost entirely of uncertified rough diamonds, stones lacking laser serial numbers or registry records. When insurance adjusters reviewed the loss claims, figures swung wildly from a few million to tens of millions of dollars. Security auditors began asking uncomfortable questions. Were certain diamond merchants overstating their losses, or perhaps colluding with cross-border syndicates to clean untraceable inventory? A mechanical genius, a cold insider betrayal, or a staged phantom illusion? As the investigation deepened, every theory offered answers, yet every theory left a haunting shadow over the vault. Delivering the final Antwerp vault heist verdict from 1997 reveals a case that dissolved into shadow. Joint cross-border raids by the Belgian Federal Polity and Dutch police swept through illicit workshops in Breda, Rotterdam, and Amsterdam. Authorities arrested low-level fences and illegal cutters. But the phantom keymaker vanished into thin air. The physical brass duplicate key was never recovered, and no master strategist was ever convicted in court. The stolen haul was lost forever. Because the breach occurred years before the Kimberley process introduced laser registry numbers, those uncertified rough diamonds were recut on illicit wheels across Europe. Their original physical identity was erased forever. 0 stones were recovered. Yet the breach sparked a massive security revolution at Hovenierstraat 51. The Diamond High Council completely overhauled Vault Level -1, replacing purely mechanical locks with dual custody electronic systems, digital video recording, and seismic sensors. That high-tech fortress set the stage for Leonardo Notarbartolo and his crew 6 years later in 2003. Legend has it, the master craftsman retired under an assumed name, keeping the custom key as a silent souvenir. Some suspect the truth remains buried deep in the private ledgers of the Diamond Quarter. Which theory do you believe? Was it mechanical genius or an insider betrayal? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit the like button, share this video with fellow true crime enthusiasts, and subscribe for more forensic heist investigations.